Hi guys, Tylord here with the video games I beat in 2022. It's about 15, give or take. I didn't really keep track. I have all of them right here. There's an asterisk by a couple of them. A couple of them I sort of cheated on, so I'm not going to count those, but I'm going to go over them. And not too many games. I know a lot of people beat way more than I do. I enjoy watching these videos to get ideas on fun games to play. That's kind of why I want to do it. All of these games, any game I can go through and complete the whole thing, I like it. So this is more of a recommendation list. If you haven't played any of these games, I played through these 15 or so games this year. Really enjoyed them. I don't get through every game I start, but these 15 I did. I might do a separate video on games I couldn't complete. I don't want to talk trash about them yet because I might go back and beat them, but these are all games I completed this year. From earliest to latest games I've completed over the year 2022. So the first one I beat with my daughter, actually. We beat this one January 6th, the first game this year. The Land Before Time, Return to the Great Valley on PlayStation 1. A little dinosaur game I picked up at Rasputin's for 50 cents or so, based on the Land Before Time movie. It was a little platformer collectathon type game, maybe only like 8 or so levels. They were all pretty easy. My daughter could beat some of them. I beat some of them. Some of the platforming got a little difficult, but it was a fun little cute game, 3D platformer game. You have to control each of the 4 dinosaurs to get to the Great Valley, like they're all lost like in the movie. And it's the little Triceratops, the little foot or whatever his name, and there's a big fat one and another one, I forget. They all have different abilities, so each level plays a little differently. I think each dinosaur has 2 or 3 levels, and you beat them all, and you get each dinosaur to the Hidden Valley or the Great Valley to reunite with the other dinosaurs. So we had fun with that one on PlayStation 1. Second game I beat, and this was all the way in March 9th. I beat an excellent game, probably one of my favorite games of all time now, Morrowind, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind on the good old original Xbox. I got the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC. Didn't beat every single bit of DLC. This has all 3 DLCs on there. Or no, 2 of them. Tribunal and Blood Moon, and then the original game, Morrowind. It was always hard for me to get into this after playing Oblivion. Oblivion's the first Elder Scrolls I ever played, and I fell in love with that. So it's kind of hard to go back to this. But after beating this, I can see this has a lot going for it. It might even be better than Oblivion. The fighting mechanics and all that are kind of clunky, kind of like roll the dice type attacks. Like not every time you swing a sword or shoot a bow it's gonna land. Depends on how high your stats are. But I started off grinding a lot of my abilities on this. Kind of a chore, but it paid off because it's turned into a really fun, engaging, immersive game. Really open world. Probably the most content you're ever gonna get out of any Xbox game, original Xbox. This is really impressive for Xbox. It does load up. The first initial load screen when you turn the game on lasts a long time, like 5 minutes. But then after that, the loads aren't too bad. I got through this game. I didn't play it on the Series X or anything, although it is available to play this game on you can put this disc and play it on the Xbox Series X. Also, it's on Game Pass. It looks really good, and the load times are all gone. But I just played it on the original Xbox. Really big immersive game though, really big world, a really fleshed out world that they created in here that you really get engaged with. A really long storyline. It was kind of a chore there towards the end, but I really enjoyed it all. Yeah, once you can get your character leveled up and slow grind towards the beginning of the game, but once you can get this, get some of your stats built up, You can farm for money. You can do all the training you want. Every level you can build up money. I found a way to sell my armor to this one unique NPC that has a lot of money. I found out a way to get a lot of money. I did a lot of training on the character, upgraded pretty much all the attributes and skills in this. So a really cool game. Yeah, I highly recommend this if you're into the other Elder Scrolls like Skyrim and Oblivion. Although don't expect the smooth fighting and all that like Skyrim. This is an old school game, but really big open game for an old Xbox game. So Morrowind there, really highly recommend that one. So then moving up to May 9th, like 2 months later, I beat this game on N64, Shadow Man. Really cool game. Probably one of my favorite games now. Recommended to me by Hidden Game Room. He actually sent me a copy of Shadow Man on the PS1, which I was interested in. I played that one for a bit, and it's pretty good too. Anyway, it was kind of hard to see, kind of clunky on the PS2, but this is the version you got to play. The other one will do the PS1, but if you can get a hold of the Nintendo 64 version of Shadow Man, do that. Shadow Man. Oh yeah. I think my brother had this game when we were kids, and it looked kind of slow and confusing, and I didn't know what to do. I think he got into it a little bit, but I didn't really pay much attention. But over the years went by, I was thinking, I wonder if this is a good game, if there's something to it. Published by Acclaim, and so I never thought much about it until HDR was talking about how cool it was, and then I go, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. So after getting into the Super Nintendo version here, kind of confusing at the beginning, you don't really know what to do. But once you get into this game, it is incredible. This is like on the level for me with like Zelda or Metroid. It's sort of like a horror version of like Zelda or Metroid. It plays a lot like a Metroid game. Like there's a large map with different routes you can go, and you need to unlock certain doors to get to certain areas. All the areas have a boss. Actually, there's like 4 different bosses, and they're all serial killers that Shadow Man has to take down. So they're kind of like weird, unique bosses you fight in this. But a really big game, sort of reminds me of Metroid or Zelda, but with the main character's a man that can you can live in the real world and then like the dead world, and that's where you do most of the game. But you can go back and forth to the real world. He has guns in the real world. In the undead realm, I forget what they call it, you can get all kinds of weird weapons, unlock new abilities, sort of like Metroid, all kinds of new tools and weapons to unlock other areas. And I found this game really, really addicting. Towards the end, there's like this fire temple, or lava temple or fire temple, and it's really, really difficult. Some of the platforming, that's probably where I spent a lot of the time. I was frustrated with that part. I don't really care for 3D platforming. I got through that because I just wanted to get through the game because it was so good. There's this fire or lava temple towards the end, and there's a lot of like timed platforming. It was frustrating, but once I got through that, it was very rewarding. I collected every single one of the I forget what they're called, the little Dark Souls, I think they're called. I collected all of those, and you can get this big gun. I forget if it's called like the Disruptor or the Devastator. This big like hand machine gun thing, or it looks like he wears it on his hand, and it's like a Gatling gun. But you can fight the final boss with that, so it makes it pretty easy. That really cool Metroid-esque game. This is why I thought it was a disgrace there was never a Metroid on the N64, because this thing pulled off like a Metroid type game very well. So I recommend that one. Shadow Man. Next game I beat, I got from the local game store, Utopia Games. I got Samurai Showdown for the Super Nintendo. Cool port of or adaptation of the Neo Geo game. not quite as good, but I enjoyed it. I thought it looks good, it sounds good. Kind of difficult. It was really hard. I think I beat it on normal, and it was hard as heck. I've never really been into these Samurai Showdowns as much as like the Fatal Furies and the Art of Fighting, but I really like Samurai Showdown, and this was a solid version of it. I'll just leave it at that. Next game I finally beat this game, one of my favorite games of all time now, but I didn't want to ever put it in my top 10 favorite game list because I never actually beat it. But this year I beat it. Final Fight Sega CD. Final Fight for the Sega CD. This is a repro case, but and I have a repro disc, but I actually do have my original copy, authentic copy of Final Fight CD inside here, and I have a repro disc too. Yeah, I finally beat this game. Last year I beat all the other Final Fights. I beat the Final Fight 1, 2, and 3 on Super Nintendo, and a Mighty Final Fight. Yeah, I think that was it. But this year after all that practice, I knew I could handle this Final Fight CD. It's not like the arcade where you have unlimited continues. It's limited, so it's really tough. But I finally beat this. I think I beat it once or twice. It's still tough to me. I haven't quite mastered it yet, but I really love this game. The look of it, the smell of it, the taste of it. I love Final Fight CD. Yeah, the music in here is fantastic. It's like fully CD quality, like orchestrated rock music, like the best covers of the original arcade game music. I used to have this same disc. I used to put it in my car, my Mazda RX-7. I had a CD player in there, and I used to listen to the freaking sound. The disc and the CD player has like 20 tracks, but some of them are really good, like really cool, like rock orchestrated covers of the Final Fight songs. So probably the best thing about this is the music, but it's a fantastic fun game. It plays pretty close to the arcade. Not as many characters on screen, but a little bit more than the Super Nintendo version. But really fun game, very addicting. You can do 2 players on this one. You can pick all 3 guys, Guy, Cody, and Hagar. So I can't say enough about this. I'm sure everyone feels the same way about this game. Yeah, probably in my top 5 favorite games of all time. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Yeah. Okay, next couple of games I beat was off of the Capcom Fighting Collection. Can you see that? I got that on Nintendo Switch. This great compilation of Capcom fighting games. A couple of them I already had, like Street Fighter, the Anniversary Edition. Alright, maybe I didn't have the Anniversary Edition of it, but that's on here. It's got 5 Darkstalkers games. That's Street Fighter, Red Earth, Gym Fighter, Cyberbots, and Super Puzzle Fighter. Yeah, 10 classics. So the games I never played before, that Red Earth, that's the next one I beat. I didn't have the exact date I beat that, but Red Earth was really different for a Capcom fighting game. Really fantastic graphics, like that Disney quality graphics like Darkstalkers has. It's kind of like a fantasy, like RPG type setting. There's like a lion guy. I don't really quite remember the story of it, but it was kind of felt like an RPG because you can collect money and items, and every time you lose you can just put another quarter in and it starts you back, and the enemy you're fighting still has the same amount of health, so it's kind of not that difficult to beat this game if you just keep putting quarters in. But yeah, Red Earth, really kind of unique game. Fun. If you know how to play Street Fighter and Darkstalkers, you'll feel at home with it. It's been a while, so I don't really have much more to say about that. And then I beat the original Darkstalkers. I don't know if I should count that or not, because I'd already beaten that on PlayStation 1 many years ago, but I never beat the arcade version, so I beat Darkstalkers 1. I think I didn't... I only lost a couple of credits, like 1 or 2. It was a really smooth game, smooth playing game. If you play Street Fighter a lot, you'll like it. Same button layout, really cool animation, sort of like like Universal monster take on Street Fighter. Like there's a Wolfman, there's a Frankenstein monster, there's a Dracula, there's like a Fishman, a werewolf, there's a mummy. What else? All kinds of goofy characters like that succubus, Morrigan. I like to play as her. Her moveset's kind of close to like a Ken and Ryu style moves. So the original Darkstalkers, and then I beat Night Warriors, the second one. It's kind of pretty much the same game, but Night Warriors, I beat that one, but it's been a while, so it's kind of blurring together in my mind, but I like both of those. And that's all I got off of that compilation so far. Okay, here, now we're moving on to the good stuff here. So for a while I couldn't play any games because I had open heart surgery and I was recovering, and I didn't have much feeling in my hands from like the nerve damage from the which is normal from heart surgery. It's all back now, but for a while I couldn't really play games. Maybe like a month or so after my surgery, when I was recovering, I started playing this RPG game, which doesn't take much coordination, being an RPG turn-based. And that is Dragon Quest VIII for the PlayStation 2. I got back into playing this one, and I beat it over my recovery when I was off of work. Man, this was a fantastic way to recover. I was sitting in my recliner playing this every day. Really charming, beautiful game. I think I mentioned it before, like everything about this is quality, like 10 out of 10 quality. Like the graphics, the music, the gameplay, the story. I'd say this is like a perfect game, this Dragon Quest. Kind of interesting little characters. It's got voice acting, it's got little side quests. I think it's all on one disc from what I remember. Yes, one disc. This is the one that comes with the Final Fantasy XII demo, which is another awesome game. I actually ordered this off of Shad Juice's eBay shop many years ago, and I just now played it. Yeah, really great game. If you're recovering from a surgery or something, I would recommend playing these role-playing games. It doesn't take a lot of hand-eye coordination. You can just sit there and relax, but usually just hit one button. I don't think I died. I died maybe one time on this game. Not that it's not challenging, but let's just say I do a lot of grinding on these games. So I only died once on the first boss because I wasn't really accustomed to the game quite yet. But after that, I don't think I ever died one time on this. Just to do a lot of level grinding. And I hear there's a remake of this on Nintendo DS with like where the monsters are actually on the board. So that would be really good for like money grinding, because certain enemies give you more money and more experience. But you can't see them; it's like random encounters. But it's still fun as heck. The music's fantastic. I can't think of that composer's name. He did all of these Dragon Quest games. Really great music. He actually did Godzilla vs. Biollante, also that movie. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about this. This was a great way to recover from my heart surgery, playing this game. Yeah, the ending is fantastic. You really get into the little story. There's like a after boss section of the game that's just kind of winding down the story, and even that's really cool. I wish I could say more about this. Yeah, fun little characters. Every town you run into has a little story, and every person that joins your party has a little story, and you think it's all disconnected, but kind of towards the end everything comes together. Really cool game and cool story. This is probably one of the best PlayStation 2 games there is. Okay, then after that, I was lucky enough to purchase this. Because I think I spent like $50 on it, or $40, which is more I wanted to spend. But I really like a lot of these games. With the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection on Switch. I'm sorry, the lighting in here isn't that great. This is terrible. This video is gonna look terrible. But the game I beat on there for the first time. I did beat the Ninja Turtles 2 arcade game on Nintendo, but I beat it while using save states and rewind functions, so I don't count that as winning it. I've never been able to beat Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game on Nintendo, which is one of my favorite games back then. and I beat it now using the rewind, so I kind of figured out how the patterns work now because I played through the whole game, but it's difficult. But I'm not going to count that. But the one I did beat for the first time without doing save states was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters on NES, one of the only like official fighting games released on NES. And I actually liked it a lot. The Super Nintendo version is always my favorite, but the NES version is really cool. I had to be Raphael because he has like that M. Bison Psycho Crusher thing that I just would spam, and I'd spam that and maybe some fast low punches. But I got through the game with Raphael. The thing I liked about it though was the art style was inspired by the 1990 or 89, is it 89 or 90, the Ninja Turtles movie, the Jim Henson puppet movie. So the art style, like in the cutscenes and stuff, the Turtles and Splinter and Shredder kind of look like that, so I appreciated it representing the Ninja Turtles movie. But fun fighting game. I beat it with Raphael, like I said. And then I never had even played that one. It's kind of inferior to the Super Nintendo version, but the Sega Genesis version of Tournament Fighters, I beat that, I think, with Raphael again. From what I remember, I think he has like the M. Bison Psycho Crusher on that. It's been a while. Beat that one. And that one's not as bad as people say. I enjoyed it. It's nowhere near as good as the Super Nintendo one, but it's not bad. I enjoyed it. I think the last boss is that Karai, the same girl that's the boss of the Super Nintendo one, only she looks different. Yeah, so I had a lot of fun with that. I'm gonna get back into this. You know what? The other one I beat on here was Hyperstone Heist for Genesis, the beat 'em up. And I didn't use any save states. That game's really easy. I liked it. It might be my favorite Turtles game now. Hyperstone Heist. It's kind of like a different version of Turtles in Time, but I kind of like it more. It's just made for the Genesis, and it's like super easy compared to the other ones I played. And Master Tatsu from the movies in there, which is cool. So I like Hyperstone Heist. Okay, now on to another good one. I finally beat Phantasy Star Universe, Xbox 360, and this is just a second release. This game already had been on the PlayStation 2, and it looks exactly the same. And it doesn't play online anymore, of course, so you can play this online, like similar to the other Phantasy Star Onlines. But this one has a full fleshed out story, like campaign, like it's a one-player story campaign. And I just thought it was going to be something tacked on to the online game, and it's actually a full, like, it took me like 40 or 50 hours to beat it. Really good single-player story campaign with voice acting and cutscenes and songs and different worlds to explore. Yeah, so I enjoyed this one. I played this after, when I was feeling a little bit better after Dragon Warrior 8. I started playing this, and this is kind of like playing another Phantasy Star. It's not turn-based, but almost like the closest thing you're going to get to a new Phantasy Star game. And it's hack and slash, and you can upgrade your weapons and your abilities and your combos. You can go do the missions over and over and grind your money and experience. There's cool bosses in this, like big dragons that look like stuff out of Godzilla. Fun little story, really takes itself really seriously, like an anime. Like I think this is pretty well written. It's kind of really melodramatic, but kind of fun little story in there. So I recommend this game. I remember Cat's Games Whatever recommended this. He beat this a long time ago during a backlog, and it sounded like he just blew through it really fast. But it took me a long time. It was hard for me to get through. Most of the dungeons are easy. Towards the end, they started getting a little complicated, but you can take it. Now this game's very cheap if you want it. Phantasy Star Universe. Yeah, I recommend that one. Okay, next game I beat Faxanadu for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I should have filmed this earlier when the sun was out. It's so dark in here. So this one, Megadan turned me on to this. Him and a bunch of other YouTubers were getting together doing this little contest where we would all play Faxanadu. and go on a Discord and discuss it and help each other out to complete this. We started that back in October, I think. I think it's still going on. I don't know if everyone's beaten it yet. I'm still part of that Discord. I got a lot of help from a lot of those guys in there to beat this. And I would say this is like a hidden gem. I think people talk about it quite a bit now. Sort of like Castlevania 2 or Zelda 2 or Battle of Olympus. Like an action RPG, platformer, really cool setting, really unique story, kind of a dark story, kind of a dark game, really good graphics, good music, kind of confusing in a few parts. And I thought the end of it was very, very difficult, but I got through it. I don't know, I might not be playing the same game other people. I was watching, I think, Stop Skeletons from Fighting do a review on this after I beat it, and he was saying like the end was pathetic and fast and easy, but not to me. Like, I thought the last section of this game was very difficult. The last boss might not have been super tough, but trying to get to him was difficult. Every time you go through a door, you have to buy a key to go through that door, and once you open it, it's locked again. So if you want to go back through that door again, you have to go buy another key. So it's very frustrating. I wish I would have written down some notes to help people out, but I remember there was one key, I forget, it was the K key. There was like lettered keys. There was like J key, Q key, and K key. I think it was the K key. Well, at one point you needed like 3 of them on one stretch. If you didn't have it, you have to go back, and then then you had to buy all 3 of them again. But really fun game. You can upgrade your armor, but get new special magic attacks. You can grind for money, level up. I leveled all the way up to Paladin, which is like the highest level, but I still had trouble at the end, so I would suggest to grind away on this. Fact Sanity, really happy that I beat an original Nintendo game finally. I usually don't beat too many of them. Okay, 2 more. This one my buddy Retro Tiburon sent me. Xena, Warrior Princess, The Talisman of Fate for the Nintendo 64. And this is not what I expected at all. This is actually a fighting game, and it's not really that bad of a fighting game. It's actually pretty good. It's probably one of the best fighting games on N64. It kind of like is a mixture of a regular like 2D fighting game and maybe like an arena fighter, because it's all in 3D in a 3D playing field, but you can play it as if it's a 2D fighter. Like, you can do moves like projectiles and special moves, like input a combination to do a move. You can do combos. But then the only thing different is it's being 3D, you need to press a button to jump, which I don't like, but it kind of works good for this game. And it actually feels really good, like kind of the way that the battlefield kind of feels like realistic for a 3D fighting game. Like, but it feels like you're playing a 2D fighting game. I've never really seen anything like this. And it's based on the show Xena Warrior Princess, which I haven't really seen in a long time, and I was never like the biggest fan of that, but I enjoyed it when it was on. My buddy Aeronetic Slayer, on YouTube, he's a big fan of this. He's done all kinds of videos on Xena and Hercules. This kind of makes me want to go revisit the show. It has a lot of the characters from the show, like you can be Lucy Lawless, of course, and her little buddy Gabriella. And I even saw Carl Urban's in here, and Bruce Campbell, and Ted Raimi. I beat the game with Ted Raimi, and he sucks, so like it was tough trying to beat the game with Ted Raimi. His little character was named Joxer on the show. But I beat it with him, and it was tough because he's like a joke character. And who else was in there? You see a lot of those actors from the 90s are in this game, which is cool. I got a kick out of that. Xena Warrior Princess. And the last game I beat, I think it was December 30th. I beat Nightmare Creatures for the N64. This is a cool game. I don't know where this game has been all my life, but this is fantastic. Nightmare Creatures. Think of Doom combined with like Castlevania. It's hard to say. It's like a hack and slash beat 'em up game, but it plays out like Doom. Like you get through the level, you find the key, you get through the big area, you go on the next level, you pick up weapon or new weapon upgrades, you pick up health items. But instead of shooting the monsters, you're like fighting with them. Like you can do combos. Every new level, you learn a new combo. So it feels a lot like Doom, but it's like a hack and slash to beat 'em up, and it's set like in a goth setting. So it's very, very scary. It's like it almost feels like it looks like a survival horror game, but it's more of a beat 'em up. Monsters pop out everywhere. There's jump scares. It's set like in the 1800s. I guess like in London. I think it's London, and kind of goth environment. You've these two characters. There's a boy and a girl you play, and they both do martial arts, and they have weapons. So you do all these cool martial art moves. You're fighting all these scary monsters that pop out all over the place. There's zombies. There's giant like fire-breathing like dragons and all kinds of creatures you run into and fight in this game. And I played it. The default setting, I didn't realize it till the end, but it was easy. Its default setting is easy, and I had a hard time with it. Like the last boss, you have to beat the last boss only using combos. There's a few really good combos you can just spam, which is no problem. But it was set on easy, and it was difficult as heck to me. The last level is really cool. It reminds me, like, I wish there would have been like a Castlevania game like this, because it's set like in this palace or this mansion. A really cool game, Nightmare Creatures. And then there's like cheats you can unlock. You can unlock like any level. You can play as monsters, play through the game as different monsters. It's really cool. I was running out of lives on this, so I had to like start over from the beginning because I was more familiar, so I could build up my lives by the time I got to the end. But really cool game, Nightmare Creatures. And that's it for the year of 2022. We're on to 2023, and I haven't beaten any new games yet. My daughter has, and I've beaten a couple of games that I've already beaten in the past already, but I haven't gotten any new games yet. The one other game I wanted to mention that I really wanted to beat this year in 2022 was Eternal Champions, but I could not beat it legitimately. I can get to the boss every time without dying. With the boss, you get like one shot at the boss, and if you lose, the game is over. So it's really frustrating to keep playing through the game. It's hard to practice, so I downloaded the ROM of it, and I save stated before the boss just to practice on the boss. I played it over and over and over 50 times. Maybe I beat him once or twice, but I couldn't get down a consistent pattern to beat the boss, so I'd go back and play it on the Genesis, and I could never beat him. So I don't really consider beating this game yet, although I did beat it with emulation using a save state. But I don't think that counts. But I do really enjoy this game, Eternal Champions. Really fun fighting game for Sega Genesis. Probably one of the nicest looking fighting games on Sega Genesis. And that's about it. Was playing some Super Mario 3 over here. Can't tell if you can see that or not. I got the Wii out. I thought my daughter would like playing the Wii, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the remote. She's like old school like me. She likes playing with a controller. So have a good 2023, everyone. Play some fun games. I hope your 2022 was good and you had some good gaming moments. Let me know if you're interested in any of these games. I'll tell you more about them. Let me know if you like these games and tell me about them as well. Yeah, probably my favorite one this year. It's tough to say because I played so many good ones. But I think I've narrowed it down to, oh no, there's so many good ones I played this year. Once again, Dragon Quest, probably one of my favorite games of all time now. Dragon Quest VIII, Final Fight, Sega CD, one of my favorite games of all time. Shadow Man jumped up there for me. This is probably my favorite N64 game now, Shadow Man. Morrowind's probably my favorite Elder Scrolls game now. And what else? I gotta give a little love to Phantasy Star Universe. That was way better than I had ever expected. And then once again, Faxanadu, fantastic NES game. And shout out to the Discord group, all those guys in there for helping me out. And we chill out in the Discord with Faxanadu. So with that being said, I'll move on and officially start 2023 trying to beat games. I don't know if I'm going to beat as many. I'm going to try to read more books this year. I'm gonna try to, but I get sleepy when I read books. Try to work on some other projects, but I still want to beat a few games. I know I'm looking forward to Resident Evil 4 Remake. That's my favorite game of all time. So I'm gonna try to beat that this year, hopefully. And my wife's gonna order it for me for my birthday. It comes out around my birthday on Series X. Resident Evil 4, my favorite game of all time. I was not looking forward to the remake. I thought they were gonna butcher it and turn it into something it's not. But everything I've seen so far looks like it's gonna be solid remake, just like all the other remakes have been for Resident Evil. And then Street Fighter 6 is the other one I'm looking forward to. I really want to get into that one. Any other games this year I'm looking forward to? Can't think of any now, but I definitely want to go back to some older games and beat them that I have never beaten before. I got a huge library of games to go back to, as you can see. So I'm going to try not to buy as many games this year, just so they're sitting there. A lot of these games just sit there, and I'm probably never going to play them. I should start downsizing, but it's hard because sometimes I think of a game and I want to play it and then I won't have it. So it's nice having a library of games. Lost my train of thought there. Have a good 2023, guys. Enjoy your gaming and enjoy your life. Bye.